Hi everyone, this is David from davidhobson.net. In this video we're going to take a quick look at the standard 3ds Max user interface with particular reference to the useful menus and toolbars and the widely used command panel. So the first area of the user interface we're going to look at is the quick access toolbar, and this is at the very top of our user interface, and it provides some of the most commonly used file management commands, including the ability to create a new scene, to open an existing scene, to save a scene. We can undo and redo our commands, and we can also access the file manager utility. And we can also change to different workspace layouts by choosing different options from the drop down menu. To the right of the quick access toolbar is the info center toolbar, and this gives us a search box and access to additional online resources for 3ds Max. Up in the top left corner of the interface is the application menu, and this gives us access to a number of commands which help us with various file and scene management tasks. So for example, we can reset our 3ds Max system back to its default settings, open and save existing scene files, import additional non-native CAD data, import and manage externally referenced 3ds Max and CAD data, and also manage our existing folder setup. Also to the right of the application menu is a list of the most recent 3ds Max documents we have worked on, making it easier to open current and recent scene files. And just below the quick access toolbar is the main drop-down menu area, and here we can access many of the commands, tools and applications that exist within 3ds Max. So as we select each of the main headers in turn, we can see that many of the options have an arrow to the right of the command, and when selected give us access to further submenus containing additional commands and utilities. Just below the main drop-down menu is the main toolbar, and this provides quick access to tools and dialogues for many of the most common tasks in 3ds Max. So for example, to move an existing object within our scene, we can choose the Select and Move tool, or to access the material editor, we can select the Material Editor button, and to adjust our final render settings, we can choose the Render Setup tool. And moving down below the main toolbar, we can see the ribbon. And this is yet another set of menus and toolbars that we can use to access many of the commands, tools and utilities that exist within 3ds Max. To the left of our interface is the Scene Explorer, and this provides an area for viewing and selecting any of the objects in our scene, as well as additional functionality for renaming, deleting and hiding objects, and also managing our scene layer properties. And just to the left of our Scene Explorer is the Viewport's layout menu, where we can save and switch between a number of different viewport layouts. Now in the center of our interface is the viewport area. These viewports give us access to the three-dimensional space of our scene. We can easily switch from working in one viewport by selecting another and making it our current working view. And by selecting the header options on each of our viewports, we can control the viewing direction of each viewport and also change the way our scene geometry appears in each of our viewports. So for example, we can see our scene as a wireframe geometry or displayed with shaded or more realistic surfaces. And just below the viewport area is the time slider. This slider is used to view the movement and timing of our animated sequences and allows us to select and scrub the slider along the timeline and jump to any animation frame in our scene. And below the slider is the status bar, and this contains prompt and status information about our scene, as well as coordinate information relating to the three-dimensional position and rotation of our objects in our scene. Also here we have the ability to manually apply and set keyframes to our animated objects. Carrying along to the right here we have the animation playback controls, and in the bottom right corner we have a menu containing all of our viewport navigation controls, allowing us to manipulate the zoom and pan options in each of our viewports, as well as the ability to toggle between maximizing our current viewport or showing all 4 available viewports. Now to the right side of our 3ds Max user interface is probably the most significant and most used menu, and this is the command panel. This menu comprises of 6 panel options that give us access to most of the modeling features of 3ds Max, as well as some animation features, display choices and miscellaneous utilities. As each panel is selected, the command and display options below change to show layers of additional menus, submenus, tools and parameters. So that covers the main visible user interface options for 3ds Max, but there is one other really useful menu available to us that at the moment is hidden, and that's the quad menu. Quad menus are accessed by clicking the right mouse button in any viewport, and they can display up to 4 quadrant areas showing various commands. Now the content of each of these quadrants will vary depending on whether or not a specific object is already selected in the scene, or whether a specific key is pressed on the keyboard, such as the Control or Alt key. But in all cases, the quad menu can provide us with quick and easy access to some useful commands. So that's a quick overview and explanation as to each of the user interface areas in 3ds Max. As we progress through the next set of tutorials, we will be sure to look at each relevant menu in more depth, as and when we access the various commands and tools that we need to create our 3D models and scenes. This is David Hobson from davidhobson.net. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more video tutorials on how to work with 3ds Max, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel.